Hello and welcome to another edition of UFO Video Addicts. Let me give you a quick preview of what I got coming up in this video. The first is a video out of San Diego. This video seems really familiar though. I think I might have shown this before, but it was just recently uploaded to Reddit. But, I'm sure not everyone has seen this one, so I'll show it again. Here's another video from Reddit. I'm not too sure exactly where it is, but they show this little tiny orb or probe or UFO, whatever you want to call it, cruising around in the sky. Also have this video that claims to show that there's something moving around on the Mars because it's leaving these tracks. Take a look at that. Here is a video that I just came across again of John Lenard Walson. I've definitely mentioned or shown, clips of his videos in some of my other videos, but not everyone has seen it. And, I think I always have new people. So if you've seen this before, here's another video. And if you haven't, check out this video. This guy, John Lenard Walson, he actually created his own sort of telescope and camera system. And he was able to detect these huge craft that he says are disguising themselves in constellations. And he says that these things are orbiting the planet in sync with with Earth's orbit. And we know that that these aren't like anomalies or specks or anything like that, because we can actually see them move. He actually has film of them moving and changing shape, and they're supposedly huge, enormous structures. But anyways, I have this other video here of from Russia. This is a Colonel test pilot, first class, confirms that he did encounter UFOs. It's all in Russian too. This is a video about this guy, Tom Dawson, who claims that he was examined by these pointy-eared aliens. And then, he claims that he heard someone screaming, "I am Jimmy Hoffa," which, makes me kind of skeptical of the story, but that's just what he claims he heard. It might not necessarily be what he heard. I'm trying to rationalize it as maybe he just thought he heard that. That might not necessarily, be what the person that he heard was saying, but it's just what he thought he heard. I don't know. Also have this video here of this place called Ta Prohm. It's one of these ancient temples that was forgotten and then found again, and this is, I believe this is the reason, or I firmly believe that there must have been highly advanced civilizations that lived on planet Earth, and this is the evidence. And there's another part here where you see that someone carved in this dinosaur here. I think this is called a Stegosaurus, I think. But anyways, we'll take a look at that. Also have this article here about evidence of advanced civilizations living on Earth more than 100,000 years ago. Yeah, I definitely believe it's true because, again, here's the evidence. And there must have been some type of worldwide cataclysm that wiped out most of these civilizations, or, maybe something else happened. But anyways, they were here and they're not here anymore. But the evidence is here. And then last is this article here about the 1972 McCord Air Force Base ET battle, where supposedly some ETs came down and got into a battle with some airmen. But we'll give this a quick read. Anyways, let me go on to this first video here. This is from Reddit. Let me go to the beginning here. Check this out. Now, I think initially I thought those were just street lights, but no, those definitely aren't street lights. And, and this looks very similar to some videos that I had previously posted. But yeah, look at that. That right there tells me that it's not street lights. And not that one right there. Look at how it's segmented. I don't think those are street lights. You know, those are street lights for sure. But I don't think those are street lights. And that's that. Okay, let's check out this other one I found on Reddit. Yeah, you see, this is slow down. Look at this little thing here. I mean, could that be a bug? Is it possible a bug could move that fast, or that he would be able to capture an insect moving like that? Not too sure about that one. Okay, now this video here, like I said, something huge has just been detected moving around on the surface of Mars. Now, let's see, let me go right about here.
Viewers have said that in recent years they've made some interesting discoveries. One of the most recent ones to be published on Mars groups is that of this one. It shows what's been described as tracks, and those that have seen them have said that something large must have created them. Various different ideas have been presented in order to explain what these strange markings could be. One person said the following about the photographs. This is one of the more interesting ones that's been captured on Mars. Many people within the UFO community are not aware of this, and it's a shame because it's one of the most interesting ones we have from Mars. It shows what appears to be tracks going on for miles.
Yeah, he said it's going on for miles. And I wonder if these are structures here, listing over here. And I saw on this other clip here, like, no, where was it? Like here, are these structures? Are these structures here? But anyways, I can't play this whole video, or, I will get hit with copyright violations. But of course, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, let me go on to this other video here. Now, like I said, I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos before, I've done a video on this guy before, John Lenard Walson. But he created his own camera and video system to be able to detect these objects that he says are in deep space. And yeah, and they move. Let me play this one thing about what this guy here says. So this is John Maynard, Disclosure Project, retired Defense Intelligence Agency. Listen to what he has to say.
I said, now, this is supposed to be a system that tracks radar anomalies on Earth, right? The whole thing, the movement. Yep, that's what it does. And he says, well, why are half of them pointed towards the outer space? Towards the moon, towards areas that are just blank space. Well, I don't know, was the reply. He says, never thought about it. He says, well, at least half of those satellites you got up there aren't looking at Earth. I said, what are they looking for? He says, well, you got to need to know about that. I said, I see. In other words, who's coming? He says, we don't know. End of subject.
Did you hear that? This guy, half the satellites are pointed away from Earth. So obviously these guys know something. And, notice he also said, some of those satellites are pointed at the moon. So obviously there are people within highest levels of government who are monitoring activity on the moon and monitoring crafts or something coming in and out of our atmosphere. Because like the guy said, they're pointing in areas that are blank, and trust me, they're not just pointing in the blank space. These people are watching something. And then let's see, I just want to show you another part here. I think it's about here, where you can see this thing actually move. So that's why, we know that these are something.
What kind of alloys are they made of that allows them to transform and retract at these velocities in deep space?
Yeah, watch this thing move. Yeah, you can see it moving. See it getting bigger? Wow, did you see that? It expanded and then contracted again. And again, according to this guy, these things are huge. So imagine the amount of energy it would take to move, a structure that much, that's that big. But anyways, check this out. And, this is only a short 855 video, but Jose Escamilla, who's the guy speaking in this video, he did a whole documentary on John Lenard Walson. So I definitely suggest, doing a YouTube search and looking for the whole 1 hour or hour and a half, like a documentary. I don't remember. I think it's called Something Rising is the title. But anyways, let me go on to this next video here. This is a Colonel Test Pilot, First Class, confirms contact with UFOs. And this is a Russian guy. Let's hear what he has to say here.
Of the country to our territory. That is, at one height, it entered the territory, then dropped the cargo, changed altitude, and went to the mountains. The stratospheric balloon was visible from a distance, and next to it, about 300 meters to the left, to the north, was something vaguely compatible with the size, at least in cross-section, of the stratospheric balloon. And do you think they are controlled by these UFOs? Intelligent beings or robots? Yes, I think so. Because this object clearly tracked events. That is, it was present there with a certain task which is performed. What's the assignment? Keep track of what we do. According to the frequency of UFO sightings in Aktubinsk, the Chkalov.
Yeah, the audio in this video, sorry, is really, really bad. But, this guy's, like I said, he's acknowledging a UFO report in 1968. And so we know, the Russian government, the U.S. government, they've been lying to us. I don't think I have to convince anyone of that at this point. I'm sure most people are pretty well aware of that. But anyways, let me go on to this other video here. This is a story about this guy, Tom Dawson. Let me hear what he had to say.
Contraption which reminded him of a hula hoop. It was connected to a kind of skull cap by a series of cords. The hoop contained dials from which they took readings after placing the cap on Dawson's head. At the same time, Dawson could only watch in horror as the visitors pulled down his trousers and lifted his shirt over his head, passing the hoop up and down his body. He began to understand that they were performing some kind of examination on him, and sensed that they were somehow reading his mind. They next attached small suction cup devices like rubber and of a bright orange color to various parts of his body from his legs upward to his chest. Throughout the bizarre examination, Dawson claims that he felt no pain. In fact, after they put the skull cap on him, he lost most of his fear, almost as if he had been given a tranquilizer. At that point, an even stranger development occurred. Just as the visitors jerked the skull cap from his head, Dawson began to hear a loud voice emanating from the interior of the ship. He could make out the words somewhat clearly, a panicked voice screaming for help. It kept saying, "I am Jimmy Hoffa. I am Jimmy Hoffa. Won't somebody help me? I am Jimmy Hoffa."
Now, you see, this is where, the story gets a little crazy. But again, that's just what he thought he heard. That might not necessarily have been what, if this story is true, what the person inside, if there was this screaming going on, maybe that's not what they were saying. That's just what he thought he heard. Or, I don't think, that I can't even entertain the notion that, that Jimmy Hoffa was kidnapped by these aliens. It's just, I don't think that's within the realm of possibility, mainly because, from my understanding, they found Jimmy Hoffa's bones or his remains in, I think it was in New Jersey, one of the stadiums in New Jersey, whatever. Yeah, so I don't think I don't think Jimmy Hoffa was abducted by aliens, although I do find this story intriguing. If it was true, this guy was probably mistaken in hearing this, or maybe it's just something that he wanted to hear. I'm definitely trying to rationalize this story if it is true. I mean, I'm not gonna defend the validity of this story because this is the first time I've ever heard it. But if there was an explanation, that would be the best explanation, or it would be an explanation that I could definitely accept if I wanted to believe this story. But anyways, I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out. This is another example of advanced civilizations that must have existed on Earth. And if you notice here, here's a dinosaur. Here's a stegosaurus. Let me play a little bit of this.
Under the French botanist Henry Morhot rediscovered it in 1860. Taprom may be best known for its active tree roots, but the fascinating temples of dinosaur carving is also a mystery that attracts tourists. UNESCO inscribed Taprom on the World Heritage List in 1992. Along with Angkor Wat, Taprom is one of the most popular tourist sites in Cambodia. In 2000, Taprom Temple was used as one of the filming locations in the Tomb Raider movie.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, these trees, in order to get to this point, it takes hundreds, if not thousands of years. No, I think it's only hundreds of years. But anyways, yeah, this temple has to be old. And when you look at something like this, if we ask ourselves, what would it take for us to build this today? Well, first of all, it would take a whole lot of money, right? Someone would have to put up a whole lot of money or something to get people to build this. And then imagine, the skills required, the advanced or the knowledge of advanced math, calculus. You'd have to know algebra and geometry. I mean, there's just so much advanced knowledge and even architectural skills that are required, And I go back to this my photo gallery of Earthlings. These are Earthlings. Okay, these are the people that occupied planet Earth. At the time when these things were built, when these places were built, and I can pretty much guarantee, okay, since none of these people are building anything like that today, I don't think any of their ancestors were building these things. There is absolutely no evidence at all to indicate, these people, these hunter-gatherers, had any of the technological knowledge to build these things. And yet, here it is. We see them. Now, for sure, these people could live. They could have stumbled upon it. They could have been brought here or whatever. These structures could have been like the Aztecs have said. The Aztecs always say that they didn't build those places. They found them. They say the people from the stars built them. And and I believe that that's true. Here's an article here, evidence of advanced civilizations living on Earth more than 100,000 years ago. What do we really know about the history and past of the human race? Has our species been on planet Earth only a couple of thousand years, as mainstream researchers suggest? Or is it possible that ancient advanced civilizations inhabited our planet hundreds of thousands of years ago? And I say it's obvious. The people who came up with this notion that civilization started in Sumeria, that's because that's all they knew. They did not have all of the advanced equipment and computers that we have today. So we know so much more today. We can take LiDAR and we can scan jungles using satellite, and we find the evidence that there were ancient civilizations in places that that the scientists in the 16th and 17th century weren't capable of knowing. So so the people that determine our you know, our current world paradigm, they were working with limited data. So everything that they have told us, or, you know, that we've been taught, is wrong. Anyways, this last article here, the 1972 McCord Air Force Base ET battle. And let me just get down to where the battle begins. Let's see. Here, in the early afternoon hours of 14th October 1972 at around 1 p.m., Airman First Class Stephen Briggs and Airman Dennis Hilsgeck were making their way from McCord Air Force Base in Pierce County, Washington, to the Tactical Air Navigational Facility. The site was around 8 miles from the base itself, but still under the control of the United States government and, in turn, the U.S. Air Force, who was responsible for it. The journey to the facility wasn't a long one. Upon arriving and after opening the strictly locked fence, they would enter the area before heading for the Taycan building itself. Once inside and after performing all necessary security checks, the pair would carry out their pre-assigned system check of the Taycan facility. The operation was running smoothly until around 2 p.m. when Briggs noticed a high-pitched sound coming from outside. He would later recall how it sounded similar to a small plane engine. However, as soon as he stepped outside came the realization that he wasn't witnessing a small plane or any other type of conventional aircraft. There, in full sight, hovering over the top of the Taycan building, was a saucer-shaped object. Furthermore, as he continued to watch, it began to descend to the ground, landing south of the main compound. It was then that Biggs quickly stepped back inside the main building to alert Hilsgeck. Intruders attempting to break the boundary. After having composed himself mentally while inside, both Briggs and Hilsgeck were more than alarmed to see two creatures heading towards the fence which ran around the entire complex. Once more, Biggs quickly returned inside the base, this time to alert base security and request backup. The person on the switchboard that afternoon was Sergeant David Holmes, who listened to Briggs state with alarm that intruders were trying to enter the base. A two-man unit received orders to attend the facility. Sergeant David Reed and Airman First Class Mitchell Tash would arrive 17 minutes later. The scene around the compound was one of confusion and concern. They would find Briggs and Hilsgeck both seemingly in a daze as they stood almost aimlessly next to their building. When the new arrival to the scene asked the men what had happened, neither of them could speak. Of more concern, however, was the burn marks on his face. Wow, so, you know, what I find interesting is, again, these intruders, right, they came to a military base. Why did they come to the military base, right? If they're from some faraway galaxy, if they're from the future, if they're from another dimension, they're not going to be concerned with our defense systems. I think if you are also on this planet, and you know, and there are these surface monkeys who don't know what they're dealing with, I think you would have to, you know, be a parent and sort of like keep an eye on them. But still, for whatever reason, you know, they obviously want to maintain some anonymity from the general public, at least. I do not doubt that there are people within the highest levels of our government who are completely aware of everything going on this planet. They would have to be, and they would have to have some type of relationship with these advanced civilizations. And for whatever reason, they don't want the general public to know. But it's becoming pretty obvious that we are not alone on the planet. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.